Why SVB bank collapsed? So if we talk about SVB bank, see guys, first understand this. What is the main business activity of any bank? To accept deposit and to offer loan facilities. Offer loan. Let's say Mr. A deposited 10,000 with bank at 6% interest rate, right? 6% interest rate per annum. So same loan bank will offer at a different rate, let's say maybe 10% to XYZ, let's say Mr. B, correct? And here if you see directly, we will call it as a spread. Spread, it means difference between deposit rate and loan rate. Difference is about 4%. And this is the profit of your SVB bank. And SVB bank was making profit through this particular process. Alright. But what if, let's imagine, what if you have received deposit of from different investors or deposit holders, you have received deposit of 50,000, but unfortunately you have only, let's say, Mr. C, who is willing to take a loan from you, and as a bank they could only sell loans to Mr. C, let's say, which is 10,000 at 10% interest payment per annum, and bank still is holding around 40,000 as a deposit. Now you tell me how bank will manage this one, because anyways if the bank, let's say, doesn't process loans to the let's say loan holders, then bank won't be able to make money out of it. Then how bank will process interest payment to the deposit holder? Only bank could process 20% loans. And here is the catch. Same thing happened with SVB. What happened? They received deposit from startup companies, because in pandemic most of the businesses, they were stuck in between, and they had a huge liquid cash, so they decided to deposit cash with bank, and they deposited it. Most of the startup companies, they deposited cash with bank. So bank has received ample amount of deposit from different startups companies, and suddenly their deposit level has gone up drastically. So it means they received huge deposit amount from the customer, and every deposit comes with a deposit cost, which is interest payment, where bank will pay it to the deposit holder. And on other hand, their management was failed to sell out loans in the market. They could only sell out in a minimum loan booking size. So it means they had to pay interest payment on deposit from their pocket. So far it was good. There was not too means, again, if you have received extra deposit, even you can return to it. But what they made a mistake, their management is deposit amount they diversified into money market instruments. So it means this 40,000, which is net amount, just because they couldn't sell out to anyone, so they decided to invest in government bonds. See, they already committed that they'll offer deposit, 2 to 3% or 6% interest payment on deposit, and The excess amount they invested in government bonds, and when they invest that amount in government bonds, as we know it, the government bond situation, what happened with the government bonds? US yield was negative, right? Few months back. They invested huge amount in government bonds. Let's say they invested 40,000 in government bonds, and government bonds is offering a return or rate of return, let's say only 1% interest payment. Let's calculate it now and how bank end up with making huge losses. They invest 40,000 excess amount in government bonds. So government bonds was only offering 1%, it means 400 rupees interest payment. Interest payment, and this interest payment, it's a bank's income basically. And on other hand, bank was entitled to process interest payment to the deposit holder on same amount. The liability was 40,000 into 6% divided by 100. $2,400, and this will treat as an expense. Expenses. Alright, 2,400 minus 400. In this transaction only, if you can see, 400. So bank end up with losses of 2,000 here. Just because they invest in money market, and money market yield, which is income, was very low at that time, and they made a huge losses. And then suddenly another incident happened where most of the startups, means post pandemic, they were seeking for a cash, because when they had a liquid cash, they deposited excess amount with bank because they wanted to earn interest payment. And post pandemic, suddenly they started withdrawing cash from the bank. And the another big problem bank faced, which is they received huge request from the startups companies to withdraw the cash amount, but suddenly their liquidity got dried up. Dried up, it means due to CRR provision, because let's say 10 to 20% amount was with regulator, and rest amount which was stuck in money market. And anyways, loan holder, they will not make any payment immediately. So bank was not able to manage, or I would say inefficient to manage liquidity, and finally bank announced bankruptcy in the market, and within a 1 week of time span, banks collapsed and set all their operations and sold out their businesses to the different companies or banks. Their European business unit, HSBC Bank, purchased it out. So it means here the two lessons that you can learn it. One, if you are raising money, from any, in any business, if you are raising money and if you don't have a strong business plan, then don't raise money. If you don't have a plan to, let's say, raise money and invest in XYZ financial instruments to multiply that money, then I would not suggest to raise money. Don't raise it money. Here also, if you see, even in this particular case, effectively you have managed it. You have raised, let's say, 10,000, and you have also disbursed that to the loan holder. So in this case, if you see, bank will make money. How? 10%, so it means around it would be 1,000, and 6%, it means 600. So this one is your income, means bank's income, and this one is expenses. So 600, if you see, bank will make profit of 400. Right? But if we talk about in this case, bank will end up with making huge losses, and they made the same mistake. Alright, so this is how SVB collapsed. And there are banks like SVB. In India also we have seen like Yes Bank. They were facing same problem where suddenly their management announced that they don't have a liquid cash. Why this happened? Because of bad loans. If let's say you have a 1 crore in your pocket, and if you, let's say, lend that amount to your friends, let's assume it in reality you have lent entire money to your friends, and your friends, lost all his money in gambling, and your friends has no any assets, liquid or any assets to sell out and repay your debt. And let's say you had taken that money from me, and now I'm threatening you. Look, I had given money to you, now I want my money back. So now you tell me, as an intermediate person, how will you manage that? I'm sure you will not be able to manage that. Finally, you will, take a help from legal lawyer and your attorney, so that attorney or legal lawyer will help you to file case against maybe counterparts, and you can announce yourself as a bankrupt, that you don't have any single penny, and even you don't have a sources to generate money and repay it. Why? Because your counterparty got default. See, money management is not an easy job, guys. If you believe that money management is very easy, so you can invest and multiply your money, then you are under wrong impression. You don't know the hard truth about the market. It's not easy to make money. It's not easy. All right.